Card King, here I come. Hello, sports fans, sports collectors, and all hobbyists. Welcome to the Card King Sports and Variety Show. I am your host, the Catman, Brian Cataquet, a.k.a. the Card King. We are live on ABC's KMET 1490am.com, your number one spot right here for news and talk on the West Coast. I thank everyone for tuning in this morning. On the telephone line, I welcome to the program outfielder for the 1959 Cincinnati Reds. I welcome in Buddy Gilbert. Buddy, great to have you on. Appreciate it.
Nice to be on. Thank you very much, Brian.
My pleasure, Buddy. So, going through your career, Buddy, we can say, many people may not know, but if you think about it, your baseball career, we can say, began very early, being that bat boy for the Knoxville Smokies, right?
Right.
And how did you get involved with the Knoxville Smokies?
I used to go there and chase foul balls outside the stadium when I was a younger boy and take them back to the ball club. And they asked me about being a bat boy. And I said, I sure love baseball. So I became a bat boy back when I was in junior and high school.
Now, something that interests me, Buddy, how did the Cincinnati Reds hear about you?
Well, they had a tryout camp, and I was told about them. So I went to a tryout camp, they came by through Knoxville. And that's when I worked out with them.
And
I also worked at the New York Giants tryout camp when they had Willie Mays. They came through Knoxville. When I was bat boy for the Smokies, I went and worked out with them over there.
Wow, and talk about how the signing came about. Did they give you a bonus? Talk about how that whole process came about.
They invited me to fly out to Cincinnati to work out up there, my mother and I, so they just put us on an airplane. They paid for the tickets. Went there, we worked out on a weekend, and after we got through working out, they talked to me and said they'd like to sign me to a contract. And I said, that sounds good to me because I really wanted to go to Cincinnati because we had one guy right there with them, Ed Bailey from Knoxville. He's one of their catchers, right down the road, Ed Bailey. So anyway, he'd been from Knoxville area right here. I said, that's fine with me. So they gave me a bonus. The bonus was either $3,000 or $5,000.
I mean, that was a lot of money back then. What did you do with the money?
It sure was. I put it in the bank. I didn't even buy a car at that time. I didn't have a car my first year of baseball in '54 down in Douglas, Georgia. I could walk to the stadium from the place I stayed in his house upstairs, Mrs. Roberts and her son. So I just walked to the ballpark and didn't buy a ar till next year. I mean, at the end of 1954, in September when I got married.
I mean, with $5,000 back then, you must have been in awe, man. That's a lot of cash.
You better believe I was in awe. Now, remember, it's either $3,000 or $5,000. I don't have a record to show what you was, but whatever it was, they bought me a new car.
So, so if you think about it back then, Buddy, you must have been so excited. You were heading to the Cincinnati Reds, a team that had the great Frank Robinson. Your first stop in professional baseball came in 1954, Douglas, Georgia, right? Class D?
Correct.
All right. How did you adjust to your first year in professional baseball?
No problem. I was a little bit lonely. The first time I'd ever been out, outside of Knoxville on my own and so forth. But just meeting some guys down there from different parts of the United States and so forth, that's when I first met Frank Robinson down there at the rookie workout. Boy, you could tell he had all the tools at what area. He could hit that ball like you wouldn't believe. But I felt real good down there, and the people that I stayed with were very nice to me. And other people that came to the ballpark would invite me out every now and then to the houses with two or three other ball players to have lunch with them, off days or something like that, when the game was rained out. But I enjoyed Douglas, Georgia. I really had a good time down there.
Yeah, and Buddy, I'm looking at your stats that year, 1954. You batted .335, going 173 for .516 with 16 home runs in 130 games. That's not too shabby.
Not at all. But the guy beat me out was our shortstop, Bo Bazar from Columbia, South Carolina. The last game of the season, he hit .336, I hit .335. Bo was a good shortstop and a good friend of mine.
Yes, so it looks like you adjusted well that first year, and then I guess that's the Cincinnati Reds really liked your talent, and they brought you up to the big leagues, right?
Well, no, they didn't bring me up to the big leagues till 1959.
All right, so then after Class D, what was the next stop in your
in the Class C ball out in Ogden, Utah, Pioneer League, Class C ball.
And that's the year that you made the All-Star team for Ogden, right?
That's correct. Now, they didn't have an All-Star game in Douglas, Georgia, 54, but when they made up a team like that in the papers, they put me on the All-Star team as a starting center field, but we never had a ball game. Matter of fact, the first 6 years I played in the minor leagues, I made the All-Star team on all 6 teams.
Wow, so you made the All-Star team in Ogden, and
right.
And didn't you meet Harmon Killebrew there?
Harmon Killebrew came a little bit later, but I met Dick Stewart out there, Billings, Montana. He hit probably the second longest home run I've ever seen in my life in an All-Star game we were playing against him up in Billings, Montana. He clouded that ball to the left center field light towers just about. I said, how can a man hit a ball that far? Now, I played against Harmon Killebrew for the first time back in 1956. He was with the Charlotte Hornets. Is he 56, 57? He spent the Charlotte Hornets. He and Bob Allison.
Wow, so being around all these legendary players, I mean, all this talent, you were there during the golden age of baseball.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you one thing about Harmon Killebrew, one of the nicest guys I ever played ball against. As I told him I wish I could play ball with him. I mean, he was a super guy to be around. He and Bob Allison both.
All right, so then, so what was the exact? Do you remember your Major League Baseball debut?
I sure do. Wrigley Field. I think it was September 6, 1959. They put me in right field. I'd always played center, played a pinch in the center. So they put Gus Bell. They took him out of the game and put Frank Robinson over in left field. And I played right field up in Wrigley Field. And boy, that was a thrill right there.
So talk about that experience. So how was your performance that day?
I think I had, if I'm not maybe one hit, but I did hit a ball. Jim Marshall playing right field. I thought the ball was going out of the ballpark, and I'll be doggone. He leaped up the vines and caught that ball. I said, "Oh, doggone it!" But just playing against those guys, and Ernie Banks playing shortstop for the Chicago Cubs. I said, man, here I am playing against Ernie Banks. I watched him play on TV over the years, stuff like that. I was just in hog heaven. I'll tell you right there, playing against the big leaguers when I used to watch them play in junior high school and high school. But Ernie Banks, he was a fine ball player, too.
I mean, unbelievable. We're talking with Buddy Gilbert, who played for the 1959 Cincinnati Reds. He's on the telephone line with us this morning. So Buddy, looking back at that 59 Cincinnati Red team, they finished, I believe, in 8th place. Why do you think they finished, close to last place? They had some talent on that squad.
We had talent, but the pitching apparently was not all that good based on my observation. We had the hitters, no doubt about that. I think that year we had 160 home runs all total. Cincinnati did. That's what I remember, an article, something like that. When Frank Thompson hit one, about the last 2 days of the season, it said Cincinnati had hit a total of 160 home runs. But the pitching, I think, was the thing, but more than likely the bullpen. I think they were short on the bullpen.
Yeah, and you also had a lot of outfielders that you were competing with, right?
Right. They had guys that had about Gus Bell was a good hitter, Frank Robinson, he made a pitching, and even Jerry Lynch, a guy I went with the spring training, he was one of the best pitch hitters I've ever seen. Had Bob Thurman on there. I said, gee, but he's quick. These guys hit the balls. And no wonder it took me so long to get up here. But Gus Bell told me, I'll get that later back in Milwaukee. We was playing a ball game up there, flying from up there to California. He told me something really made me feel good. He said, buddy, yeah, you want me to sit with him on the plane? So I did. He said, when you came up in 53 to work out, so I was out there with Andy Pafko, another of the outfielder, as we watched you throwing the ball and hitting the ball. And so I told those guys, this kid will probably take my place one of these days. He said, I'll be darned if you didn't. I love Gus Bell, boy. He was a nice guy. I got along with all those ball players. Even Don Newcomb, boy, he treated me like family. Don Newcomb did.
Really? So talk about Don Newcomb.
Well, Don is just, the way they treat the black boys and so forth. Don't take me wrong now. African-American guys in the South just turned my stomach at 54. I was never brought up that way with my mother. She taught me what the Bible said about treating people equally as long as they were acceptable to the Creator, that they were acceptable to Him and stuff like that, as long as they did His will. But now Don Newcomb, I just thought the world of him. I said, gosh, I cannot believe I am playing with Don Newcomb. I saw him playing in New York in 1951 when my mother and I were up there with my sister over in Ebbetsville. I said, here I am playing with you, and I watched you play up there back in 51. He said, good night, Gilbert. He said, how young are you? How old? But in Milwaukee, he came in to relieve in the 7th inning. I'm playing right field on Saturday afternoon. And I tell you, Freddie Hudson, according to Ed Bailey, the catcher, here's what he said. He told Don, whatever you do, don't give him anything good to hit, Eddie Matthews, because he's on the hitting streak. First base is open. We're hit 2-1. Had a man on second base. We'll take our chance with Hank Aaron, the cleanup hitter, because he's in a little slump right now. So anyway, the first pitch he threw, Don Newcomb, Matthews hit that ball over my head in the right field bleachers for a 2-run homer. Freddie Hudson came out of that dugout and took him out of the ball game. Threw one pitch. That was it. After the ball game was over with, we were in the clubhouse. We got beat 3-2. And the guys have told me, when we lose a game like that, don't ever open your mouth there. Just don't say anything else. Freddie Hudson takes it very seriously. So I was pretty close to Don on the bench over there in the clubhouse, our locker, and Freddie came up and said, Nuke, that blank pitch cost you I think he said $500 or something like that, maybe $1,000. A lot of money. I said, gee, well, I couldn't believe you find him over one pitch. So that night, getting on the elevator, Milwaukee, it was after the game, Duke got on, I was getting on, and a little trainer, Doc Anderson, got on, and we started up the elevator, and Doc Anderson, unfortunately, had a little bit, maybe too much in his system. He looked up at Don Duke and said, hey, Duke, that pitch you threw today, you screwed up a one-car funeral. And Don looked down at him and said, I'll pinch your little blank head off. Man, it scared me. I pushed the button, got off the elevator, and got me another elevator.
Is that right? And Don Newcomb was a big guy, right?
Yeah, he was about 6'4", about 225, maybe 35 pounds. I bet Doc Anderson no more, maybe about 5'8", maybe 155 pounds, 160 pounds. He's our little trainer. But Duke said after him, and he remembered that in 1992 when we had a second Major League Alumni Association meeting down in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I said, do you remember so-so? He said, I remember something about that. I said, Duke, you scared the Sam Hill out of me. I got off that elevator. I love that Don Newcomb, boy. He was really nice to me. All the guys were nice to me. I'll tell you that right now. I was so thrilled up there I could not see straight.
Yeah, so Don Newcomb, who else really took you in? Did you get along with Vada Pinson?
Well, Jay Hook's a good friend of mine, Jimmy O'Toole, and, of course, the other guys at Roy McMillan, the shortstop, he was really nice. But I mean, all the guys were really good to me up there, but Gus Bell, especially, and Jerry Lynch, and guys like that, I got to know them real well. But Frank Robinson, I just admired him the way he hit that ball. That guy could hit that ball.
Any stories you can share, personal stories with Frank Robinson?
No, not off the top of my head. I've been trying to think right now just quickly. No, yeah. One time at the season's over with, they arrested him in Cincinnati for carrying a gun up there. And after the season was over, he said Cincinnati is in the paper. And it's when spring training rolled around, we were down at Tampa, Florida. I said, hey, were you planning on Gunsmoke? Matt, we call him Matt Dillon. You see that?
Oh, my God.
Gunsmoke for getting arrested for carrying that gun up there. he laughed about it, but he didn't get mad at stuff like that. But we kidded him about that. We called him Matt Dillon. That's Frank, but boy, he's a good ball player, best all-around ball player on that ball club.
Oh, no question. What about now? Give us a story about Curt Flood. Talk about
was one of my close friends. He came to Savannah, Georgia in 1957, and I think he was the most valuable player in '56 in the Carolina League. But they had him as shortstop. It's third base, and I played center field. Well, that's what he played up there, center field in the Carolina League. But anyway, you could tell he was not a shortstop, a third baseman. He made too many errors. And then Cincinnati traded him about a year or two after that to St. Louis Cardinals, and they put him out in the outfield, and boy, that's where he really belongs, in the outfield. Good outfielder. But anyway, they get some remarks made every now and then against the African-American boys, a couple of Chico Cardinals, and like in Macon, Georgia, and Columbia, South Carolina. Now, don't take me wrong. It was just a few of the soldier boys down there get maybe a little too much in them. They call them that N-word. And I know one time I come out of the dugout, I said, hey, fella, I said, you need to stop using that word on these guys out here. I said, by the way, you better go home and check on your wife. One of our ball players is missing. That's just something I said just to be rude. And, boy, he looked at me. I said, I wish they hadn't said that. But they did stuff that the black boys down there, but Curt and I were close friends. I felt sorry for him because always Oakland, California, could do anything out there. But in the South, they couldn't stay in the same motels with us. The hotels. They couldn't, eat the same restaurants with it. I'd go get their food from his restaurant, take it out in the back, otherwise they had to eat in the alley. I'd take it to them on the bus, and I started eating with them on the bus. Rather than the white boys inside the restaurants. I even got accused one time by one ball player, our pitcher, Douglas, Georgia, of being nothing but, I don't use the word, a GDN lover. And I didn't appreciate that, and I just told him, George, I said, whether you like it or not, we're kin to him. We all came Adam and Eve from basically God's Word of the Bible. And he didn't get on with the rest of the season at all. George didn't. But I just couldn't understand how they treat the guys like that. I'd never seen that before here in Knoxville. But I'll tell you, some of those guys, my best friend, Kurt Flood, when a guy called me, David Halberstam from New York one time, he wrote a book about the Yankees, the Cardinals. He was writing a book, called me about 10 o'clock one night. So he started talking to me about his autobiography. I said, Kurt Flood, I said, I didn't know he had one. He said, what? He does. He said, it's called The Way It Is. He said, he mentioned you in there. He said, the way they was treated in the South, so like that, there was a white boy named Buddy Gilbert, that treated the boys, the black guys, human, go get their food for them, bring them on the bus. Well, if my wife were alive now, I started crying on the phone. That's the nicest compliment I've ever had in my life. I got his phone number. This sports writer out in California, Mr. Halberstam gave me. The next day I called him on Saturday morning, got a hold of him. He was out working on his car, and he came in. I said, Kurt Flood? He said, yeah. I said, how dare you use my name, sling it in my butt with your autobiography? He said, who is this? I said, Buddy Gilbert. He said, Buddy, are you in California? I said, no, but I want to tell you right now, it's the nicest compliment I've ever heard in my life. I started crying again. I just love that boy. The way they treat those guys is just terrible.
And he was a heck of a player, Kurt Flood.
Oh, he was a good ball player. He could run, hit that ball. I mean, I just thought the world of him. Thought the world of Kurt.
And he never forgot about you. Like you said, he mentioned you in his autobiography.
Yeah,
and what's the name of the autobiography again for our listeners?
The Way It Is. The Way It Is. Now, I do sometimes, like, it's Columbia and Macon coming off the outfield. I put my arm around his shoulder like that, to let people know. They may not have liked it, but I put my arm around his shoulder and said, Kurt, I said, had a good game, stuff like that and so forth. Watch those guys just look at us in the stands.
and what I wanted to ask you, buddy, even going back to your high school years, you always had a strong arm. Now, didn't you have a throwing contest with Roberto Clemente?
Yeah, 1959 up in Cincinnati, the last two ball games of the season on a Saturday. They had what they call a field day. We had the home run hitting contest. Frank Robinson entered that, a running contest. Vader Pinson entered that, and Freddie Hutchins said, now, buddy, I know you're a rookie, but would you like to enter that as our player against Pittsburgh, Roberto Clemente? I said, Skipper, I'm not being cocky, but I said, I played against him 2 spring trainings. I said, I can beat this guy. Well, they put me in. They put us in right field. He and I hit 3 ground balls to us. First ground ball, we threw the second. Second ground ball, we threw the third. The third ground ball, we threw the home plate. The criteria was 1 hop close to the bag. I beat him all 3 bases. And coming off the field, he said, hey, kid, quote, he said, you have a hell of an arm. And I was so excited. I said, thank you, Mr. Clemente. I called him Mr. Clemente.
Wow. So
I was glad to beat that guy because he was supposed to have the best arm in the major leagues, allegedly.
Yeah, so you actually beat Clemente.
Yep, sure did. And won all the money, too, by George. Yeah, I tell you, he was a good ball player. Jerry Lynch used to play with him in Pittsburgh before he came to Cincinnati. He said he's a great team man. Roberto Clemente.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, you mentioned hotels. If you think back, I mean, transportation to the ballparks, it was done by bus and trains. That
Correct.
Must have been grueling, right?
Yeah, no doubt about that. Absolutely. I just tell people sometimes you never know, but I didn't get on an airplane except maybe 1 or 2 times. It was the National Vols. We flew down to New Orleans a couple of times. Other times we took the bus and stuff like that, either train.
Now, tell me if this is correct. I'm not sure. Now, there was once time that you lived in a trailer park and there were professional wrestlers there?
That's correct. Let's see, the Fargo brothers and Les Welch and one of the guys down in Dickerson Trailer Park in Nashville, Tennessee, back in '59. And I got to know those guys real well because we could beat them at the swimming pool and so forth. And they were nice to me like you wouldn't believe. I even told them one time, I said, now, you can't tell me some of that stuff is real where you hit guys. Because in boxing, I boxed for 2 years in high school. I said, you all hit one another. No blood or something like that, hardly ever. At boxing all the time. So anyway, Sonny, the head honcho there, there's actually two fleshly brothers, and another was not a brother, but they all said they was the Fargo brother. He showed me how they could practice for a fight out of town, and so they wouldn't hurt each other. But now Sonny, down in Memphis, Tennessee, his wife Frona told me after a fight one night, come out, that lady wanted him to sign an autograph, and he signed it, and she took a letter open and stabbed him right in the doggone stomach. Had taken him to the hospital, and she said, buddy, I never went to another wrestling match ever again. Like the Florida, she told me that story about him. But the Fargo boys were nice guys. I enjoyed being around and hearing their stories. And when they came to Knoxville a couple times at the through ball or Les Welch, I'd just go out and watch them in the wrestling matches.
I was going to ask you, what about Lester Welch?
Lester Welch, he's a very nice guy, too. Very nice guy. And I know it came out one night, I don't know it was Lester who they had like a bandage or something like that on their forehead, like they'd been hurt or something like that. I said, now, did you really get hurt in that ring? I said, take that Band-Aid off, and he wouldn't hurt at all. They just had to fake it. They had put a little blood up there or something to make it look like he got hit in the forehead hurt. It was a fake. So I was right there. It's not all real what you see. Those guys practice stuff so they won't hurt each other, what have you.
And I have a few minutes left, buddy. So 59. Now, your last game in baseball, what happened? Now, were there rumors that you were going down? They were sending you back down to the farm system. What happened there?
No, not at all. I didn't know about that. They sent me a contract to sign with Cincinnati when the season was over with, but they were $200 short. They offered me a contract, an increase in salary of $300. I held out for $500. And I wouldn't sign. And unfortunately, Mr. Jay Paul told me I was a stubborn kid, and I made a bad mistake. I said, that's the way you feel about me. You've never had a complaint on me in your life. All-star team 6 times. I said, so if that's the way you feel, you go to hell. So I looked right there. I said, I'll quit baseball. I couldn't give them a trade me either. They told me Pittsburgh was after me and also Kansas City. So they wouldn't trade me at all. So next time he called me in Florida when we signed a contract, he said to me, I only had $300. I said, no, Mr. Paul, I told you. He said, you're still a stubborn kid. I said, well, if that's the way you still feel about me, you go to hell. So I wouldn't go, but Dick's sister called me and said he'd give me some extra money if I came to Seattle. They could work it out. $3,000. My wife was ready to go. We went out there, had spring training. It was the best spring training I ever had. First 10 ball games, I hit 5 home runs. I asked for my money. He said, but I got bad news. Jay Paul called and Cedric Tallis, the general manager, said, if you're getting buddy any extra money, it cost you your jobs. I never got that money at all. That's when my heart sank about baseball. So they wouldn't trade me at all. Next year I played more and more. So I'm getting out of here. I quit. The following year, 1961.
61.
But I love that Dick Fisker out there in Seattle, boy. He's my favorite manager of all time. Freddie Hudson was good to me, too.
So you basically lasted 7-8 years in professional baseball.
Total of 8 years, that's it. Round the button.
8 years. And how about the other? You had Fred Hutchinson, and who was the other manager? There were 2 managers on that team. Was it
I can't remember the name of the first manager because I met him back in 58 spring training. In 57, but they got a brand new pair of cleats and so forth. But Freddie Hudson, what I really remember because what he said to me after I hit that first home run that Saturday, he told me, he said, come into the dugout. He said, buddy, you ran so fast around the bases, the camera couldn't keep up with you. I've got a copy out of the paper where he said that on my wall downstairs. I love Freddie Hudson, man. He was good to me.
Yeah, and you hit that solo home run. Now, was that against the Pirates?
Yeah, against the Pirates. The guy's name was Jim Umbright. The other guy I hit on Sunday, I think his name was Dick King, I believe. His name was King. I think it's Dick King. The other 2 guys hit 2 home runs off of. I still hold that record today. 20 times at bat, 2 home runs, 10%. Of anybody who's ever played in the major league, anybody, I still hold that record. 10%, 10 times at bat. I've won a lot of doggone dinners off that day, too.
Wow. So then after baseball, what happened? You must have missed the game. You can never – it's always in your blood, right?
Oh, absolutely. I went back to Cincinnati several times, watch them play up there, go to the dugout with them, clubhouse and talk to them, clown around. Had a good time with the guys up there. Joe Nuxall and people like that, just always treated me so doggone. All the guys treated me good. Even Johnny Temple and stuff like that, because this year, I just love Cincinnati ball players. They was good to me. Treated me like family.
So what did you do after baseball? How was your life after baseball?
I got into mortgage banking right after baseball. The guy who was the manager of the president of baseball club in Nashville when he moved down there to go to work with Gary Morgan. I told him no, I had 2 children and they wanted to leave Knoxville. So he got me a job with Curtis Mortgage up here for 3 years. And then he opened up a company up here, and I resigned to go with him, Mr. Herschel Greer. I was with him 20-something years before he died. I finally retired from that, got out there and opened my own company in real estate and also land development. And, boy, I loved that real well. Commercial sales and land development, subdivisions. I enjoyed the mortgage banking. That's what I retired at, mortgage banking.
Yeah, and you were and I'm reading here you were successful at it. And, you are a Knoxville legend, I can say, buddy, because you're a member of the Greater Knoxville Sports Hall of Fame. I mean, that must have been such a great honor to be a part of that.
Yeah, it was on. It didn't cost me a whole lot of money to get in there either.
Hey, there's a lot of legendary athletes.
Other people would be honored more than me. They said, no, buddy, we want you in there. So they did, and, boy, I appreciate that. I got in there, Phil Fulmer, the football coach at UT, and some of those other guys at G-Man, the cricket. But I tell you, it didn't go to my head at all. But people have known me for stuff like that you wouldn't believe. It's helped me in business. Believe it or not, it's helped me in business.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, being inducted at Greater Knoxville Sports Hall of Fame, I mean, you're a Knoxville legend.
Yep. Well, that's what they tell me. I've met people before that I've never seen before in my life. And one real insurance agent said, I told my buddy, he said, you're the ball player. What's Central High School? Oh, and you played for Cincinnati. I said, wow. His name was Phil Nichols. I owned a State Farm Insurance Company in Knoxville. I said, gee, man, cricket.
Well, buddy, listen, it was really a pleasure to have you. I mean, we'll do it again in the near future.
Well, anyway, I'm available. Like I said, I'm 89 years old. I'm a hunky-dunky door. Been very healthy since 2001. I had my operation for cancer in Houston, Texas. I'm fit as a doggone fiddle.
You sound great. Good luck to you, and we'll speak again. We'll speak soon.
Brian, thank you for your courtesy, and you're being real kind to me. I sure appreciate you very kindly.
My pleasure. Buddy Gilbert, 1959, Cincinnati Reds. Until next week, happy collecting to all.